Hello and welcome. My name is Biagio Mazza, Pastoral Associate at St. Sabina Parish in Belton, Missouri, and I'm here to welcome you to another Do You Know series question. Today's Do You Know question is, do you know the Catholic Church's position on cremation? For the past 20 centuries, the Catholic Church had banned cremation across the board. Some of the key reasons why this is because it was seen as a pagan practice that was antithetical to Catholic teaching and positions. Right? Secondly, it kind of showed a kind of denial of the resurrection of the body, a very strong Catholic teaching, as well as it lacked respect, showed no respect for the body as a temple of the Holy Spirit that occurred with regards to the baptized body. As a matter of fact, in 789, Charlemagne actually condemned cremation under penalty of death. So it was only in 1963 that the Vatican lifted its ban, if you want, on cremation, and allowed cremation in very rare cases, as long as it was not a condemnation of the Church's teaching on the resurrection of the body. No prayers or rituals were allowed with regards to the cremains, and again, cremation could only occur after the body had been through a funeral service, and then cremation could occur. In 1969, the Vatican changed a bit more, and it allowed prayers to be done at the committal service of the cremains, either in a crematorium or where in the burial site of the cremains. In 1983, the revised Code of Canon Law came out, and it kind of reaffirmed the traditional position of the burial of the body as the preferred notion. And again, cremation was allowed, but only after the funeral rites with the body in church, and then cremation would be allowed. In 1989, the revised ritual of the funeral rite was issued, and in this revision, there was again a preference for the burial of the body in the funeral service. However, they began to realize that cremation was becoming more popular, and if so, then if immediate cremation was needed after the body had died, then there would be a committal service allowed at the place of burial, and then a memorial service at the church. So this was the situation till March 21st of 1997, where the U.S. Catholic Conference of Bishops requested for an exception to the funeral rites to allow cremains to now be brought to church and to allow cremains to go through the ritual process of vigil, a funeral mass, and committal. And the reason they did this is because they realized that cremation was becoming more popular among the population, especially among many Christians and Catholics and so on, and primarily because of cost. And so they began to realize that, if cremation was only going to be allowed after the body had been put into church through a funeral service and so on, there would be no cost saving for the family. And so they asked for an exception with regards to that, along with several other reasons. For hygienic reasons, with bodies associated with diseases and so on. For simplicity, for also ecological reasons, concern for the land and proper use of land and so on. And then often cremation met the immediate needs of the family. And so through all of this, they were trying to be pastoral and requesting an exception to the funeral rites. The Vatican in April of 1997 approved the exception, and so currently in the United States, cremation is allowed, and the cremains are allowed to be brought to church. As a matter of fact, the cremains are allowed to go through the typical sequence of a funeral, namely at the visitation, at the funeral mass itself, and at the committal. However, the exception was done with several conditions or stipulations. First, that the the ashes be treated with honor and respect by being placed in a kind of really dignified container, that they were to be processed in with honor and respect, placed on a table next to the Easter candle, with the lit Easter candle. Because the cremains were not seen as still the body itself present, any references to baptism, the white pall placed on the casket and so on, were to be eliminated, were not to be mentioned. As a matter of fact, whenever the prayers mention the word body, is supposed to be replaced with earthly remains and so on. The cremains, again, are to be treated with honor and respect, and they're to be buried either in the mausoleum or in the ground itself. And there is to be no scattering of ashes, no ashes kept in people's homes. There's to be no ashes distributed among the family through either jewelry or placed in other objects or whatever. All of this is, again, with the whole notion of respect and honoring the body. Cremains are to be buried. And in 2016, because of these common practices that were going on, the Vatican again reinforced these stipulations and said that many of the things that were happening were not really permitted from the Catholic position. And so I hope this has helped to explain the Catholic Church's position on cremation, and I hope you'll return again to more Do You Know series questions as we continue to delve into our Catholic teachings and traditions. Thank you very much.